Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza.
This is Coach Rez, head coach of your Carolina Cobras arena football team. You're listening to TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, your home for Triad Sports.
And you know this, man.
Charlotte out of timeout. Here's Morning, the shot. Game over!
He's going to get off. Here he comes. Here he comes. He's got him this time. It's going to be a drag race. Wow. They touch. Raven got him. Raven got him.
By Lundquist. Now Ponagorowski with it. 2-1 in front. Block there. Scramble for it there. They pump away at it. Still it's loose. Pumped out by Cobleton. They score! Entry! It's over!
The runner at third, nobody out in the first and didn't score. Second and third, one out in the second and didn't score. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game.
Welcome to The Score. Here's your host, Brett Wiseman.
We're back. No, not how Cam Newton said it, because that didn't end well for anyone. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's see. Super Regionals right now going on in Greenville in the jungle. Next to Boonville Pickens. I don't even know what the name of the baseball stadium is. I just know there's a ton of trees. And the ECU Pirates right now leading Texas 8-5 right now. Bottom half of the seventh inning, according to my television. Buccos have 2 on, 2 out. Do the fighting East Carolina Pirates. 2 on, 1 out, I should say, in the bottom half of the seventh. Remember, those are best of 3. So if ECU wins game 1, 80% of teams that win game 1 of the Super Regional go on to win the whole darn thing. UNC, Christian, your Tar Heels also hosting a Super Regional. That starts tomorrow. Notre Dame's also in a Super Regional. Virginia Tech is the only other ACC team to be hosting right now. They get underway against Oklahoma here in about, actually right now. That's now airing on ESPNU. Pirates Longhorns is on ESPN2, and then we got Louisville and Texas A&M. We'll break all that down later. We got Stanley Cup playoffs to talk about. We got NBA finals to talk about. We got golf that's supported by blood money. I mean the Saudi Arabians that's stealing every conceivable person from the PGA Tour, and apparently people from the NHL too. Christian?
Yeah, there's some breaking news. I don't know if, Brett, you saw this, as big of a hockey fan as you are, but it looks like
I'd be surprised if I didn't.
Yeah, it looks like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner of the Maple Leafs have decided to join the Blood Money League. They decided
Live Golf?
Apparently so.
The top line of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Hey, you know what that means? They'll get to play more than one round.
Yeah, now and then, from what I've been told, that was the deciding factor. And if you know the Maple Leafs, you can understand why.
This is all a joke. Okay, nobody freak out.
It's a joke.
Nobody freak out. Okay, NBA Finals. Listeners, those of you who are casual NBA fans who saw this series and said, oh my God, this is a mismatch. And then those of you that watch the NBA as closely as most of us do and said, this could be a contest. It's a contest. Listeners, this was never going to be a blowout. Ever. I refer you to analytics. ESPN's BPI gave Boston an 81% chance not only to win the series, but win it in 6 games. There's 2 major things that are happening right now. Number 1, Boston simply playing smarter basketball and better defense. Number 2, as crazy as it sounds, Steve Kerr is getting outcoached. Plain and simple. I said it. schematically, everything.
I don't know so much if he's being outcoached. His roster is being outgunned. This is the first time really.
And everyone went into this thinking that Boston was outmanned because they didn't have the star power. No, they're playing like a complete basketball team.
Well, the number one thing that I see is that Golden State has nothing in the interior. For some reason,
Correct. Right.
He's not playing Jonathan Kuminga.
And that's the one thing that nobody talked about when the consensus was they saw Warriors and not 2008 Celtics and said, mismatch. The Warriors have no size. Robert Williams is having a buffet in the paint right now. All right? He's turning into a golden corral down there. He is having a blast because no one's guarding him. Jonathan Kuminga is a sand gnat compared to Robert Williams.
Well, that's the problem, though. It's not so much that they don't have it. They're just not using it. And I understand that Kuminga's 19 and Moody is young and all this other stuff, too. But I actually would be surprised if Steve Kerr does not use them in the rotation tonight in Game 4. They got out-rebounded like 1 billion to 10 or whatever it was. There was just no one down there. And then on offense, they're playing 5-on-4 because Draymond Green can't score. He's not even looking to score. So it's kind of unfair, really. What do you do with Draymond Green has become the key to the series for both sides. Like, what do you do with him? Because if you're Golden State, you want to keep him in for all the little things that he does. But Boston is showing that they may be more mentally tougher than people anticipated. And that stuff's not really going to affect them the entire series. So how much worth do you put on Draymond Green?
See, that's the thing right there. And I'll go back to the last 3.5 minutes of Wednesday night. Draymond Green was physically rattled. Yeah, he argues with the refs on everything.
He does that all the time.
He does that all the time. But I saw something. I saw I don't even know really what to call it, but I saw something that wasn't the supreme confidence he plays with most of the time. I saw him frazzled. I saw him rattled.
He was shook. That's what he was.
Shook. That's the term. He was shook. Boston has found a way. Just like I said, Golden State had a blueprint on Luka Doncic. Boston's got a blueprint on that whole team right now. They know how to beat them physically and mentally.
I would say that we shouldn't be prisoners of the moment, though, because in that game on Wednesday night, we literally watched Golden State score 8 points in 26 seconds. It's not like they can't win games against this Boston.
We know they can turn it on when they want to. Right?
Took the lead. They took a 2-point lead. The reason why they lost it is because of what you led off with. There's nothing in the interior right now for Golden State, and they're playing such a brand of small ball. Their tallest guy is 6'7", I believe, that they have in the rotation right now. That's not going to cut it. And I think a lot of people think Golden State just shoots threes or layups. That's not them. That's Houston with James Harden. Golden State never was like that as an offense. They've always shot pretty well from mid-range.
And they've always moved the ball really well. We talked about this the last time we were on. The ball movement is always crisp, but Boston's defensive rotation right now.
The length is bothering Golden State.
Next level. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I picked Golden State in 6. So right now it's kind of going the way I thought. They have to win this game tonight in order for this to happen.
This falls under the category of a must-win.
Oh, absolutely. They cannot go back to Golden State down 3-1. Boston's already shown they can win in Golden State. I didn't expect them to win. I thought it was going to come down to a Game 7.
I thought this was a home team's going to win every game kind of series. That's what I went into this thinking.
Another thing, too, with Boston, it feels like there's stretches where Jason Tatum feels like he has to kind of Kobe himself in these finals, where he kind of takes he hits a couple, and then he starts shooting some shots that maybe he shouldn't have shot. It reminds me of Kobe Bryant, and I know that's his like mentor and idol or whatnot. His best game might have been Game 1, where he didn't score a whole lot, but he had a whole bunch of assists, and that was probably their most complete game. I saw all kinds of flaws in Game 3 for Boston. To me, I know they won by double digits, but to me, I feel like they're lucky they won.
My thing is, though, with Boston in that last game, that the trio, not just Smart, Brown, and Tatum, but if they can just have 3 Celtic players score in between 15 to like 25 points, they'll win. because, like you said, they have the size, they have advantages over Golden State right now. Curry is playing probably the best he's ever has in a finals series. And it's probably the saddest thing ever because this was his best chance to win MVP. And like you said, they're playing 4-on-5 with Draymond because he's too busy doing what we're doing right now, which is making podcasts. I don't feel any sympathy at all for Draymond Green.
Well done.
I don't feel any sympathy at all because I don't think, like what Brett was saying earlier about how he didn't look the same with his confidence. Well, he has enough confidence to go home and record a podcast right after that, or talk about LeBron for 30 minutes on there. So I don't feel any sympathy at all for Golden State. If anything, I feel sympathy for Stephen Curry because he's having to carry a lot of the load right now.
I feel sympathy for Stephen Clay right now.
Well, wait a minute, guys. It's 2-1. Like, we're talking as if they're on the precipice of, like, getting swept. Like, this is still a very close series. Every game in this series, I have not.
My biggest point here is everyone went into this thinking that Boston was going to get the doors blown off of them. That's the biggest point I want to make here, is that the Celtics should never have been considered an underdog from the get-go. Now, if they haven't proven that to any of you to this point, you're simply not watching.
They've been the best team in the NBA since the All-Star break.
Thank you.
By far. And I think, like you said, if you're an NBA casual and you come in and watch during the playoffs, you might be like, hey, Boston, I didn't know.
If you're one of those, call me when the playoffs start, people.
Yeah. But Boston has been like this since February, and this is, people talked about their experience not being in the NBA Finals. That might be true, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown led this team to the Eastern Conference Finals in Tatum's rookie year. And if it wasn't for LeBron James in Game 7, they would have been in NBA Finals then. Like, they've been sniffing around the top this entire time.
They've been on the precipice Jason Tatum's entire short-lived career to this point.
They finally got away from ISO ball with Brad Stevens and started passing the ball around and trusting each other, and that's why you're seeing this explosion now. Boston feels like Golden State 4 years ago. Like, they're actually making Golden State look old, like, on the court. Like, they look slower, but that's because Steve Kerr is only playing the vets. He's not playing any of the younger guys, and I think that's going to change tonight. I think you're going to see Kuminga. You're going to see a little bit of Moses Moody. They need to get fouls on Robert Williams and these guys, Al Horford, even though Horford's not really playing that great except for Game 1. They need to do something to pound back against these guys, because just having they've got to get
those big guys into foul trouble. Because the only way they get this even in terms of a height standpoint is if they can get those big guys into foul trouble.
Yes.
Because there was an instance in Game 3 the other night where I saw Grant Williams jump over 3 black shirts in the paint, grab a rebound, go up over top the same 3 guys, and get the rebound, put it in. Easily. Jumped over Curry, Clay, and I couldn't tell who the third guy was.
Clay looks about a step slow. He's not fully back. I didn't expect him to be fully back from his injury. He missed 2 years with lower leg injury, so he's not going to be the defender he was probably ever again.
And then the other question, what condition is Steph Curry in right now?
I think
we don't know.
He said he's fine. No major damage. So
those questions.
He's not on a minutes restriction or anything tonight, so we'll see how that plays out. But
it's the finals. He's if he can walk, and he'll be fine.
If he's at least 80%, he'll play.
Yeah, he'll play.
Those questions are interesting. I think the biggest question, though, that I have been asking myself, we've been talking about it this whole segment, about height and everything like that. Well, how much of a difference would James Wiseman make if he was available on the court?
That's a really good point. Yeah, that is a very good point.
Thoughts crossed my mind because he would be the starting center. It wouldn't be.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Who was starting?
Looney.
It wouldn't.
Yeah, Looney.
Looney's like the only big man that they're really playing, and he's got finals experience. But I'm telling you, these young dudes that were all springy and they were using them in Memphis and these other rounds, I'm pretty sure Steve Kerr, someone has brought it to his attention, probably the stat line, that they were not rebounding, and that's mainly how Boston was able to retake that lead and just hold on to it. If they can just get some rebounding, everything else I think will take care of itself. Steph Curry's on his path to get his first finals MVP the way he's playing. To me, he's been the best player in this series from either side. But if you don't rebound the basketball, it's really hard to keep a lead. It's really hard to apply pressure on that other team if you're just going to let them get 50-something rebounds. So, I mean, to me, that's the main key for Game 4.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Especially in playoff basketball, especially in NBA Finals. You don't rebound, you're not going to win.
Well, let me ask you this, Brett. What would you do about Draymond Green? Because to me, that's the biggest problem Golden State has. They're playing 5-on-4 on offense. Draymond's not going to give you, like, he's not going to come out and hit 6 threes like Al Horford did in game 1. Like, that's just not going to happen. But he's probably, well, he is your best defender. So what do you do with this situation? Because you're really crippling yourself from the tip, which is sad because, I mean, isn't he a top 75 player?
I would say so, yeah.
But we're saying he's a liability on the court in the series. So, like,
offensively, yeah. Well, here's what you do. You've got to find a way to get him involved somehow. If that's, beating and banging down low in the paint, then yeah, that's one thing. You've got to be able to use his enforcer goon-like qualities on the offensive end, not just on the defensive end. You've got to goon it up here. Set some harder screens, get him down low, get him banging, some really, subtle little elbows to the gut on some guys. Like, Boston is winning this series in terms of physicality because they know they have the size advantage. Somebody like Draymond's got to go down there, just as somebody would lay a big hit in an NHL playoff series to get somebody going or start a fight to get somebody going. Draymond Green's got to go down there and do what he did to Steven Adams. Almost.
I would say not him, but like someone like Moody or somebody needs to do that. Like send in an actual goon instead of Green, because you need Green to defend and do other stuff. And the refs are already walking on tippy toes when it comes to him anyway, because the technical foul thing, and he basically is out here saying he's going to push the limit and force them to make a choice. This could be the game where if he does what Brett's saying, they actually throw him out, and then the narrative will be, okay, Draymond cost the Warriors 2 rings because he, couldn't control his temper or whatever.
Here's what I love what Isaiah Thomas said. I love this quote so much. I'm going to read it real quick. Where you play 34 minutes, you have 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 points. Draymond Green does that in a grade school game, not in the NBA Finals. He has lost focus in terms of concentrating on beating the opponent. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. You're playing that many minutes. You're a quote-unquote Hall of Famer. I don't know a Hall of Famer that has 4 in the finals, has 2 points, 3 assists, and 4 rebounds. He should be getting at least 8 rebounds a game. That's what he should be doing. That's, I think, the key for Golden State. Like when you go look back to the Cleveland Finals, all those years when you would see Draymond being incredibly aggressive, going for rebounds, second chance points, all this kind of things. And you just don't see him do this anymore. I mean, he's out there literally playing left tackle the other night. You saw some videos.
It was, yeah. I was just like, man, is he trying to get thrown in? Like, what's he doing? Like he really is serious. He's going to make these refs decide what he's doing. There was the one where I think it was him and was it Jaylen Brown again, where they were on the floor, and it just looked like once he realized that he was going to fall down, that he just laid out like this and like rolled on Jaylen Brown, so that like all of his, just everything is just all on Jaylen Brown, like his face and chest and everything. And at the end, they're just laid out, and Draymond Green has both his legs across his dude again. Like, it's so blatant. Like, we're going to talk about this on Rundown tomorrow morning. But I'm going to bring up the idea of who would you rather have, Draymond Green or Dennis Rodman? Because they both bring things.
There's an easy answer to that question.
That's why you got to tune into the Rundown. WWBG 1470 AM, 10 a.m. Saturday morning.
Yo, what a plug, my man. Nicely done.
Can I add one more thing as well about this? The Draymond thing also extends to not just Draymond, but the entire Warriors team right now. Doesn't seem focused. They're more focused about the Boston Celtics crowd, giving them a bunch of crap and not being classy enough.
Boston.
It's exactly.
What do you expect?
Isaiah Thomas actually was the one that made that point too, Alex. Earlier in the week, right before Game 3, Isaiah Thomas apparently he was talking to the ESPN crew with Stephen A. Smith and Jalen Rose and all those guys, Mike Greenberg, and he said Golden State has not played in a finals with a crowd like Boston. Like don't mistake Cleveland for Boston. Boston fans are different. They are completely different. And it can rattle a team. He was like, I would know. I played for the Pistons. Like, we had all these battles in here. Playing in Boston or playing in LA is a different vibe in June than it is playing in Cleveland, Ohio.
Absolutely.
Playing anywhere where there's an established pedigree in terms of established success.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything about Boston as a city. I'm saying fans that are used to this. Cleveland fans were never, quote unquote, used to that until LeBron got there.
There's a difference between expectation and hope.
Exactly.
Cleveland was filled with hope. Boston, LA, those places expect to win.
There's 5 or 6 arenas in the NBA where that's expected. Yes, Golden State's arena is one of them now, but the Garden in Boston, Staples Center, MSG, you could say that. I don't know about anymore, but
like false hope mixed with
there's a certain mystique to certain buildings, just like there is in any other sport. That when you walk in there, you're on hallowed ground. There are that parquet floor has seen some of, if not the most successful crops of basketball players in one setting.
Golden State
time after time after time.
Golden State just needs to be happy that it's not Game 4 in 1986 or whatever year it was when the Celtics decided not to turn the AC on the Lakers. 130 degrees inside during the game. The Lakers got trounced. It might have.
That's almost as bad as the time. Who was it? Christian Flyers and Sabres in Buffalo, where the humidity was about 98%. This is a good segue into the break. Game 4 of the 1975 Eastern Conference Final was known as the fog game because you know what happens when there's humidity and there's ice? It melts. That's when this thing called water vapor starts coming up, and then you can't see a darn thing. So we have the Fog Bowl in Chicago, and then we have the Fog Rink in Buffalo. Anyways, they're irrelevant. I don't even know why I mentioned the Sabres. 1975.
One more thing. I don't want to hold us up, but last thing on the Warriors, Celtics, the thing that icks me the most is that by saying...
It really grinds your gears. It really grinds your gears.
By saying stay classy and you guys weren't very classy, this is going to add so much fuel to this Boston crowd tonight that they're going to hear the most horrible things possible probably.
That's all.
I think Golden State wants that. I think Golden State may want to say that stuff in those post-game press conferences because they're going to feed off of that. Like that.
They better be, and if they weren't ready for it before, they better be ready for it now. Because if you say to Boston, anyone from Boston, stay classy.
Yeah,
that's it. They feel like they've been issued a challenge to do everything twice as bad. Okay,
okay.
They feel like it's a contest at that point to see how offensive they can be.
I'm telling you, Splash Brothers are going to have one of them moments tonight. I feel like where we're going to be talking about it for years after. It's like, you remember that Game 4 in Boston when Clay and Steph went off for blah 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 blah, blah or whatever? I think that's tonight. I think they're going to do that tonight, and it's going to even the series. And it's going to become a best of 3, and Boston's going to have to win in Golden State again. So.
I'd keep a watch out for Aaron Rodgers' new girlfriend. She might show up with a Splash Brothers on voodoo dolls. In case you missed.
She's hot. She's got blue hair. You talking about that one? The one that he's talking? Yeah.
The witch? Yes.
Yeah. She's hot witch.
And then Sammy Watkins thinks he's a lizard. So.
Hey, my girlfriend's also a witch, and she's pretty hot too. So maybe her and Aaron Rodgers' girlfriend could get together and give the Packers some Super Bowl black magic. That's the only hope we have. We're resorting to our quarterback dating a witch to win a playoff game at Lambeau.
At least you don't have Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. At least I'm not you. Okay, let's go skating next. If you have questions, if you'd like to agree with our sentiment that Sean McDonough is the worst play-by-play man in all of hockey, please say so. And we'll talk about more of that series, whether the Avs rest will hurt or help them. Will Connor McDavid ever win a Stanley Cup in Edmonton? The answer is probably no. Someone should save him. We'll talk about all that.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Carolina Cobras.
If I take that field, if my game starts to slide, I have no fear. If my brother got my gun.
Catch them all season long.
That's all we got.
On your home for Triad Sports. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Area softball stars, register for the Diamond Star Softball Transfer Portal Showcase June 14th and 15th at Bob Lewis Park in Asheville, North Carolina. This showcase is for any player currently in the transfer portal or any JUCO player. Get the opportunity to showcase your skills in front of college coaches from all levels. Over the 2-day event, players participate in evaluations such as softball skills and metrics by College Sports Evaluations, drill and team practice participation, and playing in 3 games. For more information, visit DiamondStarEvents.net or email Coach Ben McKinney at bmckinney@DiamondStarEvents.net. You are locked into Tobacco Road Sports Radio's TGIF lineup.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
I ain't set this up. I ain't know nothing about this. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Damn it.
You're welcome. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Hey, are you sitting around wondering how much your house is worth in today's economy? Well, wonder no more. Just ask your agent. Jenny Fulton with Allen Tate Realtors can help. Contact Jenny today for a free analysis on your home. Call her at 336-978-0041 or email at jenny.fulton@allentate.com and get the easy process started today. Why wait? In the market to buy? Jenny can help you find a perfect home in the Triad also. Jenny Fulton, Allen Tate Realty. Call 336-978-0041. Start the process and ask your agent today. Welcome to The Pit Stop, the only radio show produced in the Triad dedicated to Bowman Gray coverage every single week. Join host Brett Wiseman for exclusive coverage and interviews with your favorite drivers at the Madhouse, plus recaps of the previous week's races, coverage of all divisions, modified, sportsman, street stock, and stadium stock. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. on WTOV 980 AM and 96.7 FM, or throughout the week during the season on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. You are locked into Tobacco Road Sports Radio, your home for Triad Sports.
And you know this, man.
Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
We're back here on The Score with Brett Wiseman on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. You put it in your Google machine, you find us on the interwebs. Christian Emery, Alex Wober, Will Hickton, our producer Desmond Johnson. Thank God Sean McDonough's not with us because I would absolutely chastise him to death. In case you were not with us before the break, we teased this. Sean McDonough is terrible. And not just... He's great at football. He's a tremendous football play-by-play guy. He's okay at baseball. He did baseball for CBS in the early 90s. People forget that. Remember Sid Bream's slide at home plate against the Pirates? Joe Carter's World Series home run? Guess who called all those for CBS? Yeah, infant Sean McDonough. Who is Canadian, by the way. Or is he from Massachusetts? I don't know. Dan Schulman's the Canadian one. Sorry, I got my bald ESPN play-by-play guys mixed up.
He is from Boston, yeah.
Boston, okay. That makes even more sense now. Also makes sense as to why he was, I don't know, a little bit biased against the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round.
First round. Well, yeah, both.
Both. Here's the thing, and I said this in October when he made his debut as ESPN's #1 hockey guy. He's just bad at calling a hockey game. Yeah. His cadence is off. His tonality is off. His pacing. I've called hockey games. I know. I have a general sense of what a good hockey call should sound like. He's not it. His goal calls are unexciting half the time. He lets his bias show through on the goal calls. Brady Shea. Plus, he's just generally uninteresting and is so far behind the play, I don't even think he knows where the puck is half the time. The goal that the Rangers scored last night, he had to give color analysis of it before Ray Ferraro could do what his job is, color analysis, because he wasn't looking. He had to verbatim give after the play-by-play, because he didn't know what the heck was going on during the play.
I think it might be that goal you mentioned that back in that round against the Rangers for the Hurricanes, and one of the Hurricanes players scored, and then he was like, "Oh, they scored." Like,
Yes. They scored. Wow. I'm so excited to be calling the Stanley Cup playoff game
at that point too. I mean,
it was. Yeah.
And you can
the goal call when they were down like 5-0 to make it 5-1 was more exciting than that one. Oh my goodness. Bob Wischusen should be the number one for ESPN. And I said that from the first night in October that they had the NHL back, where they had that doubleheader and Bob Wischusen was in Vegas, I think.
Something like that, yeah. If I remember correctly.
Whatever that second game was, he was on it. He did whatever the West Coast game was they had. He called, let's see, what series he called? He called a lot of the Blues Wild games in the first round. He called a lot of Battle of Alberta. John Butchergross even is better. John Butchergross and Steve Levy don't deserve to be in the studio half the time. If anybody should be in the studio, it's Sean McDonough.
I honestly think ESPN's hockey coverage in general is just very mid. Like, I've never been.
Oh yeah. Well, and I said this on Twitter a few after the Western Conference. After the Western Conference final ended, which TNT had. ESPN gets more Cup finals as a part of these deals than Turner does, but Turner did something really, really well before we get into actual hockey stuff. Turner used their uniqueness in what they do with Inside the NBA, and they've now taken that not only to their long-standing, now expanded to weekly Major League Baseball coverage on TBS, to the NHL on TNT, and they took it even further in the playoffs. Inside the NBA has a series where they make fun of teams that get eliminated. NHL on TNT decided to make it called Go Golfing and put everybody that got eliminated on one golf cart. So that was some Photoshop fun. I believe Paul Bissonnette went bald, made Wayne Gretzky laugh so hard he cried in Edmonton. He wasn't crying over the result yet, but they made it fun. ESPN has tried to do the same thing, especially with the studio stuff, with Subban, with Kevin Weeks announcing trades from submarines and the Eiffel Tower and, inside the Mona Lisa, bottom of a treadmill, the bowels of a underground bomb shelter. I don't know. Today he announced that Ben Bishop's contract was being taken over by the Sabres, who's retired. So it's just a salary cap thing. He decided that was important enough to announce from the bottom of a treadmill. I'm concerned about the man, but that's neither here nor there. TNT made it fun. They made it exciting. They made it palpable. They made it entertaining from the start of the broadcast to the end of it. That is the only, and I didn't even do this when NBC was on. TNT is the only time I've ever watched a hockey broadcast my entire life and not wanted to turn the channel at intermission. Because I wanted to hear what those guys had to say, and I knew it was going to be fun. It wasn't just going to be straight, breakdown, boring stat stuff. They got a guy like Paul Bissonnette to be the funny guy. They got Rick Tocchet, his former coach, to clap back at him. And then they got Anson Carter in there as the middleman. Kenny Smith is basically the middleman between Shaq and Chuck, is he not?
Yep.
Liam McHugh's just there. Just like Ernie's just there, Whoever hosts the MLB show is just there between David Ortiz, Pedro Martinez, and Jimmy Rollins, okay? David Ortiz and Pedro are two of the funniest people on the planet, and their English still isn't that good. Then again, neither is Charles Barkley's, so. Anyways, let's get to the actual hockey part. Anyways, TNT, Turner blew Disney out of the water. Blew ESPN, ABC, ESPN Plus out of the water this year. Just killed it. They should get the majority of the final coverage, but it's not how TV works. You got to put the final on a network. Can't put it on cable. It's got to go on ABC, which is why ESPN is hoping that the Rangers can make a comeback here, and their desired Avs-Rangers series will, be a thing. But Tampa's going back home up 3-2, Christian. You said this to me last night, and I agreed with you entirely, that if Tampa Bay went into New York and won that game last night, it was done. The two-time defending Stanley Cup champions are not going back home to Amalie Arena in downtown Tampa Bay, Florida, and losing.
No, and
they don't do that.
No, and as a Hurricanes fan, I can attest to having being knocked out in Tampa or being knocked out by Tampa last year. They do not lose at home, especially in the playoffs. I think they've won. I'm trying to think how many. They've won a lot of home games, and they've been all right on the road. But you do not win in South Florida or wherever Florida, Tampa.
You want to talk about hostile crowds?
Exactly.
That's a big one right there. That's at the pretty high on the list right there.
But yeah, as far as the actual game goes, I think the game one butt kicking that the Lightning took was the wake up call they needed.
It was. They were flat, and it's because they were overly well rested, which is something we'll get into with the Avs here in a second after they swept Edmonton. But yeah, it's because they were too well rested. They were flat. They hadn't woken up yet. Well, there's your wake-up call. So they go home, or they go to New York, they come home down in the series, 2-0. They haven't blinked since.
No.
Because they knew they were going home. They knew they were going to be fine. They knew if they went back to New York with the series tied, it was effectively, I'm just telling you how John Cooper probably told them to think. He probably told them it was over when it was tied 2-2. He probably told them it was theirs. Because he said, we're going to go to New York, we're going to win Game 5, and then we're going to come back here where we simply do not lose.
Now, was that before or after he had Palat quit his exit interview and go back to the locker room? But,
probably after.
Yeah, but overall, I think if you look at Tampa or New York won the first game in New York, the first game of the series, I should say, 6-2. Since then, Tampa has allowed 7 goals over the last 4 games, something along those lines.
And Christian, what is Tampa doing that we so desperately wanted and pleaded Carolina to do in the second round that they did not? They're screening him. They're screening him. They're getting in his way. They're very casually running into him. They're rattling him. They're not giving him room to breathe.
Yeah.
They are making life incredibly difficult for him. Even as spectacular and superhuman as Igor Shesterkin has been all season long and all throughout the playoffs, it doesn't matter who it is. Patrick Waugh, Guy Lafleur, whoever. If you take his eyes away, if he can't see the puck, he's not stopping it.
Exactly, and you saw that on the, I think it was their second goal to take the lead, is they fired that wrist shot or snapshot from the blue line inside the Tampa Bay zone, and it got past him because he had 8 guys in front of him. And to beat Igor Shesterkin, who's, I don't know, he may be the Hart Trophy winner. I don't know for league MVP. But you cannot just do what the Hurricanes did, and have stupid shots that just go straight into straight to him that he can see. You got to screen him.
Is throwing everything at the net a good plan? Generally speaking, yes. Yeah. But you've got to have somebody in front of it.
Exactly, and we saw that the Ian Cole goal that the Canes scored in Game 2. Either way, doesn't really matter now. But yeah, you got to get the puck and to the net, but you also got to make sure he can't see it, or you got to make sure he is not. What's the word? You got to make sure that he's panicked. He's not able to just see. Oh,
and Tampa has a lot of guys that are willing to play that kind of.
That kind of hockey to get him off his game.
Right. Yeah. To play that kind of Draymond Green kind of role, but in a hockey sense. They want to play that kind of thing where they can throw the other guy's star player off. The other team's biggest star player just happens to be the guy that's in the blue paint right now. Guys like Andre Palat, Steven Stamkos, guys that you think of as simply skill guys, Kucherov, those guys are not afraid at all to go mix things up in the slot. They're not afraid to, go cross-check people and get them out of the way. They're not afraid to throw the body around. This is a team that has won 2 straight Stanley Cups And the biggest reason is because they're not scared of anyone. The biggest reason is they know a lot of reasons. They're talented. They circumvented the salary cap, but that's, again, neither here nor there.
They also have a great goaltender in Vasilevsky.
Yes. And I think if Andre Vasilevsky, if Tampa goes on to win this thing and he does not win the Conn Smythe, there needs to be a multinational investigation going into Canada to figure that out. Because if there's anybody deserving on that roster right now, if they go on and win their third straight, it's Vasilevsky. All 3 series to this point, he has saved their hind end multiple times when they've been too aggressive on the forecheck to get back on defense.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about the guy. I mean, he had a little bit of a slump. I mean, Tampa finished, I think, they were the third in their division, or they were the Wild. I think, yeah, they played Florida, so yeah, they were third in their division. Yeah, he bails them out when they need big saves, kind of very similar to the way that Marty Brodeur used to do for the Devils, or Dominik Hasek used to do for the Red Wings.
And those guys, Brodeur, Hasek, Patrick Waugh, Craig Joseph, Cujo, Eddie Belfour, Jordan Bennington, Braden Holtby, Cam Ward, all of these guys, their regular seasons, with the exception of Bennington
and
Ward, their regular seasons maybe weren't, when they played in certain finals, maybe weren't up to their standards. Especially Cujo, who played on that 2002 Ducks team that played Brodeur and the Devils. Curtis Joseph was 40 years old at that time. If it wasn't for him and 36-year-old Paul Kariya, those Ducks would not have been in that Stanley Cup final, period.
Not at all.
Those 2 guys carried them to that final. They just ran into a buzzsaw. Certain goaltenders, just like certain wingers and forwards, just like certain forwards in the NBA, just like certain great quarterbacks or certain great pitchers, have the ability to turn it on when the time is most right, when it's most important.
And I think it's game 6. No, yeah, it's game 6 tonight or tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Okay, I think if we'll get a pretty early feel for how it's going to go after the first.
We'll get an indication of whether or not it's going to be a goal fest, or if it's going to be Vasilevsky and Shesterkin going back and forth and pitching dueling no-hitters.
Yeah. I was also going to say, I think we'll get a pretty good idea of how the game's going to go. It's a closeout game, and if you've looked at Andre Vasilevsky's over the last, I think it's been 3 years when it come playoff or come closeout games, but you cannot score on the guy.
Nope.
I think he's allowed 1 goal in the last around maybe between 7 and 10 closeout games. He's allowed 1 goal. And if you can get a sense of how he's going to play after the first period, and he's a brick wall, then Tampa's going to win that game. Because I think Tampa has more offensive firepower in Stamkos, Kucherov, and whoever else, main 2. And if they can get 1 or 2 points on the board by the end of the first, early second, that series is done, and they're going to be playing Colorado for the Cup.
Yep. And then the other question is, what shape would Colorado be in, whether this ends in 6 or 7? Either way, I think they're going to run into the same problem Tampa ran into in Game 1 of this series, which was they're going to be a little bit flat. But whoever comes out of this series, it's going to be a dogfight the Stanley Cup final against a absolute wagon in the Colorado Avalanche. We got to get in the break here. When we come back, golf. The entire sport is turning on its head. We'll tell you why after this.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Walkertown Auto Sales. Look no further when shopping for your next vehicle. Located in the heart of the Triad at 3076 Walkertown View Drive in Walkertown, Walkertown Auto Sales specializes in affordable and reliable used cars, trucks, and SUVs. They offer financing with good credit, bad credit, or no credit, with interest rates as low as 3.9%. With knowledgeable employees that are always willing to go the extra mile, you'll drive away with the car of your dreams at Walkertown Auto Sales. Check out the entire online inventory now at WalkertownAutosales.com.
Looking to tailgate this summer? Stop by One Stop on the Way. One Stop number 6, located just 1 mile west of East Forsyth at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville. One Stop serves fresh fried chicken and our famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Feeding a crowd? Get 16 pieces of chicken and sides for just $27.99. Craving wings? Come try our new spicy breaded wings. Get a 5-wing meal with 6 taters and a roll for just $7.39. Now in regular hot ranch or spicy. One Stop number 6, 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville.
This is Davis Troxler, the proud owner of North Carolina Golf Academy and the Director of Instruction. Don't let your golf game suffer from this dreary winter season. Come hit some golf balls, take a lesson. You can call us at 336-324-2374 for details. Thank you, and keep it in the fairway.
Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Welcome back to The Score here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Christian Emery, Alex Wober, Will Higdon, Desmond Johnson, Vecna from Stranger Things will be joining us later in the we're going to get to a question that's been plaguing everyone who even mildly watches the sport of golf. How much blood money is enough for Greg Norman, for Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, insert big name golf guy. In case you missed it, Greg Norman, golf legend, started Live Golf a few months ago, and there were rumblings of its beginnings. Phil Mickelson was vehemently against it and said some very bad things about it, and now is a member of it because Greg Norman went to him with a number that had lots of digits on it, and Phil Mickelson said, that sounds good. I haven't won a PGA Tour event in 30 months. Maybe I have a chance here. Here's the other thing. Commissioner of the PGA Tour has banned the now 17 former PGA Tourians, I guess you call them, members, PGA Tour members, who have bolted for Live Golf. Think of Live Golf like a globe-trotting golf league. Like the UEFA Champions League, but everything is not a friendly if it's outside of Europe. Okay, all these count.
This isn't breaking news, but a lot of buzz since yesterday. Tiger Woods just officially became the 3rd athlete to be a billionaire. And there's a lot of buzz now about him going to the
Live. Okay. From what I read, he was offered $1 billion.
That's ridiculous.
Officially, not a joke.
Cash money, bro. Dang.
No, that's called blood money, Will. That's blood money. I needed to do more research on this, but there is an organization, I'm not going to name it because they might put a red dot on my head. There might be a scope coming through my window here because they do those kinds of things, I'm sure. It's a very shady Saudi organization that has had dealings with human rights violations in the past, a lot of them, which is why this is being so scrutinized. There's two sides to this. On the subject of morality. Number one, is it right to leave the PGA Tour for any reason other than this? Is it right to leave the PGA Tour to go to another tour? Like, this to me, and it's fitting because this actually happened on June the 8th, on Wednesday, June the 8th, 1966, the NFL and the AFL merged officially. This is a NFL versus AFL, NBA versus ABA, NHL versus WHL kind of situation that we're walking ourselves into here. This has the potential, and I think it will, in 3, 4, 5 years, get to the point where Live Golf has too many stars for the PGA Tour to either be separate or be anything at all. And either the PGA Tour will be absorbed or the PGA Tour will be null, period.
Well, it feels like
all the majors will go to the Live Golf Tour. Go ahead.
It feels like the Fire Festival. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it feels like Fire Festival. If you've ever seen the Netflix documentary or if you ever heard about it before the documentary, Fire Festival was an absolute crap show of a festival that never actually happened. But anyways, this is exactly what this feels like. I saw promotional videos of it, and it looks like a damn rock concert. It looks like you're going to some festival out in the middle of the desert with big letters and people dressing up with glitter on their face and stuff. Like this.
If you saw the unveiling for this, yeah, it looked like some kind of extravagant desert,
And there's Alex, to bring your family.
I know you just went to Red Rocks. I got the vibe that if Cirque du Soleil played at Red Rocks, is how the Live Golf unveiling went. Like, there was a red carpet. Phil Mickelson looked like he just walked out of season 5 of American Horror Story. Greg Norman looked like he walked out of season 3 of American Horror Story. DeChambeau, Johnson, all over there. Look, there's 17 guys now that have gone from PGA to Live. On the other subject of morality, in terms of loyalty to the PGA Tour, as it was called by the commish, are you, to all 17, are you okay with this?
Okay with what? The league existing?
Are you okay? I'm asking the golfers themselves. They can't answer, but are you okay with playing in a league that is funded with money that you cannot guarantee has not come from some really shady stuff?
I'll say this, and I'll end mine. These are some of the same golfers who, for years, have been playing on fields in the United States of America, where until up to 20, 30 years ago, would not allow minorities onto the course. So to ask if they are willing to take money from a source that may or may not even, have it legitimately, I don't think that entered their mind at all. Like, that's not really their thing. Their thing is more mercenary. Like, that's kind of the way it comes off to me. Like, whoever's got the most dough, I'm going to go play golf for them. And half of these dudes in the 17 were getting fed up with the PGA in the first place. So, like Sergio Garcia. So, no, to answer your question, I don't think that they are thinking about that whatsoever, because most of these guys don't have huge endorsement deals. Most of these golfers don't have huge deals like Tiger Woods or
Phil Mickelson.
Shout out to Phil Mickelson for dressing up like Hollywood Hulk Hogan the other day. And then I think he actually, I think somebody told me today he's wearing a Masters play jacket or something with the PGA thing marked out in marker or something. That's what he's playing the round in. Is that right?
I thought he had to cover it up or something like that.
Yeah,
he did.
He was like a permanent marker or something and just scribbled on it.
He just scribbled a Sharpie over it. Yeah,
during the tournament. So they don't care. Like, they just want the money. That's really.
So their inaugural tournament right now is going on in London this weekend. Their United States debut will be on June 30th in Oregon. So be on the lookout for protests outside that golf course, whether it be from golf fans or people that just, don't like where the money is coming from. But something that was said by one of the PGA defectors, stuck out to me in the press, availability the other day when everybody was introduced before the event in London this weekend. This, I'm not going to name him. This golfer said, and I quote, "I'm not here to play right or wrong. I'm here to play golf. I think this league can do a lot of good for us as golfers and for the sport of golf, not just in the United States, but around the world. This is the kind of tour that the sport of golf has needed to grow it globally. I'm not here to play a game of morality. I'm here to play golf. I don't know where any of these other things came from, and I frankly don't really care. I want to play golf, and I want to get the world interested in this tour." So many red flags. So many. Like, the sport as we know it is getting flipped on its head right now. Because the names that you've seen dropping are names that have won major tournaments, have won tournament after tournament after tournament over the past 4 or 5 years. We have the former world number 1, Dustin Johnson, going over to play in this thing because they offered him $300 million, whatever it was.
Well, does it make you think, though, like, I don't know, and you can maybe better explain it to me, but if these guys go to the Live and then there's the rest of the guys stay in the PGA, does it make it easier for the guys in the PGA to win these major titles? Or are these guys from the Live still able to come over and play?
So, yes, that's the exact point I was getting ready to go to. The 4 major championships are not operated under the PGA Tour, meaning they don't count towards the FedEx Cup, which is the PGA Tour Championship trophy. The Masters, operated by Augusta National Golf Club. The U.S. Open, operated by the USGA, the United States Golfers Association. The PGA Championship, operated by the PGA, not the PGA Tour. Those are 2 separate organizations. And the British Open is operated by British people. I don't know. Tiger Woods said that he was not going to play in the U.S. Open, but that he was going to prepare for the British Open. The memo from the commissioner of the PGA Tour stated that all 17 of these guys could continue to play in all 4 major championships. In a way, that's all that matters, right? I mean, the only actual PGA Tour events anybody was like 3 or 4 that are non-majors that are even slightly entertaining, right?
So
I mean, I can name 3 or 4 right now for us. 2 of them are in this state. You got the Wells Fargo and you got the Wyndham. Those are the only 2 that are even remotely entertaining. And then the Players Championship is usually fun because that's at TPC Sawgrass. And then you got Pebble Beach. I mean, that's it.
So it's really not affecting that much besides for the FedEx Cup.
Exactly. Well, it's affecting the longevity of the PGA Tour.
Oh, that too. I mean,
like I said, if like you said, if enough of these guys start, waltzing over there for big paydays, the PGA Tour is going to be in a position, like I said earlier, where they're going to be left with a decision of we're either worse on our own now and we need to be absorbed, or we're so bad, we're so far off the pace that we should just go bankrupt and nuke it.
It could also lead, I was thinking about this, it could potentially lead to maybe, I don't watch that much golf, I'll admit, but this could potentially lead to maybe like a massive vacuum of talent, basically leaving the PGA.
I mean, we're already seeing that.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, we've got a world number 1 that left. We've got 3, 4 of these guys won the Masters, all right? Sergio Garcia's won majors. All of these guys have won not just major tournaments, but big-time PGA Tour tournaments, and they've been in the running for the FedEx Cup pretty much every year they've been on the tour. And a lot of these guys were getting fed up with the PGA Tour, which is part of why they left. Also, this. But, like I said, it boggles my mind. Not only in terms of not really caring where the money comes from. And we don't know, okay? We don't know with 100% certainty that this is quote-unquote blood money or not. We may say that jokingly at times, but for all we know, it could or could not be. There's a very real possibility that it could be coming from those kinds of sources. Because this organization that is funding the Live Golf League does not have a very good track record. But the fact that a golf legend went into it, I would think Greg Norman would have done some kind of, personal, vetting, had a screening process or something. But the point, right, the point of all of this is, about that. There's still a lot of really good players in the college ranks right now in the NCAA that are going to be on the PGA Tour in 2 to 3 years. The PGA Tour might be in a spot where they're thinking, we can just wait for the amateurs to come up.
I mean, with NIL, you can't really rule it out. I mean, they're going to have the money that PGA could very well endorse or contribute some to their playing career and might feel like they need to return it. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
There's this, not only the existence of Live Golf, but the names that they've now acquired, the crop of talent that they have, it has completely, it's not opened up one can of worms, it's opened up an entire barrel. Like an industrial-sized barrel of worms, but possibilities of where the entire sport of golf could go outside of the 4 major championships. I want to stress that those aren't really affected. The PGA Tour as we know it, your Saturdays and Sundays on CBS watching the RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada Open, the Players Championship, the Wyndham, Wells Fargo in Charlotte, the Wyndham in Greensboro. Your days of 38 weeks of PGA Tour events, they might be numbered. Live Golf might not last until it comes to the U.S. on June 30th. We don't know. There are so many unknowns with the existence of this and the names that they're acquiring that it's going to go one of 2 ways. Live Golf is going to explode and leave the PGA a choice of we can merge or we can just die. It could go that way, or Live Golf could completely blow up and be a total travesty and a failure that the PGA Tour sits there and laughs and welcomes everybody back with open arms. The sport is literally at a crossroads and has been turned on its head. No one saw this coming. Still no one knows exactly what to make of it, except that there's shady money and a lot of big names that are going over here to this supposed Golf World Tour, being run by a former multi-time major champion, Christian.
Yeah, this just crossed my mind. I know it's unlikely for to happen in these circumstances, but if this is happening in golf, what's to say this couldn't happen in another sport? Like, for example, maybe I doubt it'll happen at this level, but maybe the KHL decides to try to poach Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin, heaven forbid, Sidney Crosby, or...
I mean, this happens in motorsports all the time. This happens in these, quote-unquote, individualized sports, even though NASCAR, all motorsports are really team sports, more so than anything else. We'll talk about NASCAR later on. There was a point in 2001 or 2002 where Jeff Gordon had a massive payday offer to go race Formula One and turned it down. Jimmy Johnson took a pay cut from what he was getting in NASCAR because he just wanted to race open wheel for the heck of it and get the experience. Dale Jr. raced Le Mans sports cars because he could, not because they paid him more. These golf guys aren't going over there because, look, I'm going to say it. Those guys aren't going over there because they love golf. Those guys are going over there because they're getting paid bukus of money to play golf.
Yep.
The guys that love golf are either going to play over here, or if they're really fed up with the PGA, they're not going to play at all, unless it's a major.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I mean, Christian, you bring up a good point. SRX is supposedly this kind of IROC kind of thing.
It's more of like a something for fun, like for retired.
It's a fun thing. Yeah, it's like IROC was. It's the International Race of Champions. SRX is a superstar racing experience, if you don't know what that is. And it's the series of one-offs with legendary drivers at really old legendary tracks. But could you see them trying to poach someone away for full-time if it goes to a point where that becomes a full-time series? Yeah, probably. What if there's a rival to the tennis tour? What if there's a rival to NASCAR in terms of stock car racing in the United States. This can happen more so in these individualized sports than anything else. And I know we've gone long, but it's so fascinating to me that we're even having this discussion, because it's so out of the realm of anything anyone has ever considered in the history of golf or sports in general, that something like this could happen and have the trickle-down ramifications that it's having right now. Dominoes aren't done falling with this. Dustin Johnson just officially announced today he was going to the LIV Golf Tour. In 2 hours, another big name could say he's going over there.
And just thinking about it, if you really want to put it for like kind of more of an American style thing, imagine somebody going from MLB to play baseball in Japan or somewhere in Asia. I mean, that's
not because they couldn't get a job in Major League Baseball, because they were going to get paid more over there.
Exactly.
Imagine if Colin Kaepernick was going to get paid more in Canada than he would in the NFL and went to play in the CFL.
Yeah.
Imagine if Cam Newton did the same thing, not because he couldn't play, because he was going to get paid more.
Yeah, money talks, and sports is a business first and foremost. You can make the money, then, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
The individual that said he wanted to grow the game was lying, point blank. Yeah. He doesn't care. None of these guys care about the game of golf. None of these guys care about teaching this to kids, especially not with where the money's coming from. It's we got to get in the break here. I mean, it's a mess. It's a cluster. It's a fascinating cluster, but a cluster nonetheless. All right, we got to get in the break here. When we come back, Super Regionals. We got ECU hosting Texas right now. Ole Miss and Southern Miss in-state rivalry going down. Got UNC hosting. Christians nearby there. Diamond Heels are hosting. And we got Virginia Tech hosting, and then Notre Dame and Louisville ACC teams on the road. We'll break all that down, and we'll talk Major League Baseball as well as NASCAR. It's all coming up here in the second hour. Stay with us.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Hey, are you sitting around wondering how much your house is worth in today's economy? Well, wonder no more. Just ask your agent. Jenny Fulton with Allen Tate Realtors can help. Contact Jenny today for a free analysis on your home. Call her at 336-978-0041 or email at jenny.fulton@allentate.com and get the easy process started today. Why wait? In the market to buy? Jenny can help you find a perfect home in the Triad also. Jenny Fulton, Allen Tate Realty. Call 336-978-0041. Start the process and ask your agent today.
Looking to tailgate this summer? Stop by One Stop on the Way. One Stop number 6, located just 1 mile west of East Forsyth at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville. One Stop serves fresh fried chicken and our famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Feeding a crowd? Get 16 pieces of chicken and sides for just $27.99. Craving wings? Come try our new spicy breaded wings. Get a 5-wing meal with 6 taters and a roll for just $7.39. Now in regular hot ranch or spicy. One Stop number 6, 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville.
Franchise players.
Welcome back. Sports Channel 8's Ben Swain. How you doing, man?
I love that you guys are doing what you're doing. I love that we're doing what we're doing, because the local sports fan is really underserved in sports radio here in North Carolina. Being able to, Monday morning after the New Carolina game, being able to listen to local guys talk about the local game.
Franchise players. Every Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and at 6 p.m. on WCOG 1320 AM and WTOB 988.
This is Coach Rez, head coach of your Carolina Cobras arena football team. You're listening to TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, your home for Triad sports.
And you know this, man.
Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
We're back here on The Score with Brett Wiseman here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Chime in on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, however, I don't know, parrot, carrier, pigeon, smoke signal. We want to hear from you.
Message in a bottle.
I don't think that's going to fit through my window. I mean, sorry, it'll fit. It's just not going to be pretty. There won't be a knock at the door. If you want to send an Amazon package with a question, that'll work too. You know, those folks, you know, they deliver things very quickly, and we're very thankful for that. Update from Greenville, the Jungle. ECU has taken game 1 of their Super Regional, hosting National Power Blue Blood Texas. That is huge for that program. And they brought in, I believe, over $1 million to Greenville by hosting the regional last weekend. So imagine how much they're going to bring in when Texas fans come into town this weekend. But they get the win 13-7 today in game 1. Tremendous response from that group, who's been a powerhouse program for the last 5-6 years now. That's one of the most unbelievable environments in all of college sports, let alone college baseball. Say what you will about ECU, but they love their baseball in Greenville. There were folks, and I was watching the game earlier before we went on the air, and seeing pictures from even the regional last week, or today especially, some of the shots that ESPN2 had. Folks are pretty much stacked on top of each other out there in Greenville to get in that ballpark, because that's a huge opportunity for East Carolina to host the Texas Longhorns, a long-established baseball powerhouse, a team that is consistently in Omaha or hosting a super regional. Now, they won their regional that they hosted, but it was a pretty wild regional weekend. ECU beat Texas 13-7 in game 1, and remember, the team that wins game 1 in the best of 3 super regional goes on to win the series 80% of the time. So pretty darn good odds for the Buccos, the Pirates there. Anyways, pretty darn exciting regional weekend last weekend. 9 of the 16 national seeds that host these regionals lost their regionals. Louisville, who hosted one, was not a high enough seed to host a super. They were a 12 seed out of 16. So they now have to go to number 5 Texas A&M. That one starts at 8:30. That's on ESPN. Notre Dame, and the number 1 team in the country, who's had one of the greatest seasons in the entire history of college baseball, 55-7 in the regular season. That would be the Tennessee Volunteers, and their bullpen closer extraordinaire, better known as the Volunteer Fireman, who throws 105 with movement, wiffle ball type movement. If you haven't seen this kid pitch, you're doing yourself a disservice. Even just go to Pitching Ninja on Twitter. Like, you can see a 3-second clip and just be disgusted in a good way. Because the stuff the kid throws is just filthy. I mean, he throws 105 and it's doing this, and this. It's unhittable. Tennessee also has a lot of big mashers in their lineup, too. They can hit. So that's in Knoxville. That's at 6 o'clock. Right now underway in Blacksburg, Oklahoma, and the number 4 overall seed, Virginia Tech. Top of the 4th, 2 outs. Not a good start for the Hokies. They trail 3-0 top of the 4th to an Oklahoma team that had to win 3 games just to get out of Gainesville. 3 games in 2 days. There were a few teams that did that. East Carolina had to win 3 games in 2 days to win their own regional. And now they go out and beat the 9th overall seed, Texas. Granted, they were the 8th overall seed, but the last 2 years are the only 2 years I can remember where at least half of those national seeds, half of those top 16 national seeds lost. Usually, 95% of the time, the team that hosts a regional will go on to host a super, or will at least go to supers. Very rarely do one of these top 16 seeds get knocked out. It's almost as common as a 215 in the NCAA basketball tournament, if not less. That's the scale that we're talking about here. As often as we've seen that happen the last 5-6 years in March, it's now happened 2 years in a row in June on the baseball diamond, and that's incredibly rare for that to happen.
Southern Mississippi, Brett Favre's alma mater. They are hosting a super regional, and that's against Ole Miss.
Little in-state rivalry action there going on in Hattiesburg. Ole Miss, as you know, baseball, as everybody knows, baseball powerhouse. One of those SEC blue bloods. North Carolina, Arkansas. They'll go at it at 11 a.m. tomorrow from Chapel Hill. Christian, you're nearby there. We mentioned Ole Miss and Southern Miss. That's a 4 o'clock start tomorrow. UConn, who had to go through the best Maryland team in the history of that program to get out of College Park. They go play. Congratulations. Your reward is the number 2 overall seed in the country, Stanford. Auburn and Oregon State. Oregon State, of course, where the top prospect in baseball, Adley Rutschman, who's now been called up by the Baltimore Orioles, hails from in Corvallis. That's another blue blood powerhouse program out of the Pac-12. Pac-12 probably second to the SEC in terms of baseball conferences, as far as Power 5 baseball conferences. And we know how good the Sun Belt is, Christian. Texas State was in the top 15 all year. They hosted a regional, and they got knocked out. They lost their regional. So, I mean, this is nuts. It's a Texas State team that darn near beat SEC schools in midweek games. But again, ECU wins today. They're technically the road team tomorrow. But if they win, it's done. They're going to Omaha. So, you thought the jungle was rocking today? People were stacked on top of each other. There's going to be people like toppling over each other to get into that ballpark. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be people hanging from the rafters of Sup Dogs just to be with someone, to have the camaraderie in Greenville. There's college baseball cities just like there's college baseball towns, just like there's college football towns and college basketball towns. Greenville is a college baseball town. If you've never been there to see a game, it's an experience. It's an event. Just like going to see a baseball game at Ole Miss or Mississippi State or Arkansas. Those are experiences. Clemson baseball can be an experience. Carolina can. NC State can. There's a large number at Washington State, UCLA, teams at Midwest, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. There's a large number of schools that are baseball powerhouses. When I'm looking at this list here, the amount of blue bloods that are hosting, Blacksburg is the outlier. Greenville is the outlier. Those are not blue bloods. Everybody else, Hattiesburg, Southern Mississippi has consistently been, outside of a Power 5 school, one of the best college baseball programs in the country the last 25 years, which is bad news for the Sun Belt because they're coming into it next year. So that's just one more team for App State to compete with. Don't forget, Coastal Carolina also won the College World Series 3 years ago. So there's that. They did not make the tournament this year, by the way. Down year for them. I'm looking at this list. Stanford, Corvallis, College Station, Knoxville, Chapel Hill, Hattiesburg. Greenville and Blacksburg are outliers. So there's blue bloods, and I think that, let's see, how many SEC teams we got left? Oklahoma and Texas aren't yet. They will be soon. We got 3 SEC teams left. There's times where 3 SEC teams have made the College World Series alone. We have 3 left in the Supers. Like, this is nuts, guys. And I love it. I love this chaos. This is basketball-level chaos when all the other kids have gone home for the summer. If anybody stayed, they've camped out at the ballpark, okay? Or they just live there year-round. Or they're coming back around. This weekend is going to be very, very fun for Blacksburg, more so for Greenville. To win that game today, important for them. But we'll move on to bigger and better baseball-related things. Did you guys hear about the Angels? They fired Joe Madden, thinking that would solve their problems. Their first problem was hiring him in the first place. Sorry, I said it. He won that World Series with the Cubs and then lost half his brain cells. That's not just because I hate the Cubs. That's because he developed an absolutely terrible managerial style and made jacked lineups that were way off night after night after night. Basically ran Albert Pujols, one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time, to the other end of Los Angeles last year because he wouldn't play him.
Apparently, I was looking into it. He was considered a bit of a lame duck head coach even entering the season.
Yeah, like I said, last year he ran one of the greatest hitters of all time out of his dugout, out of his clubhouse, out of his organization, because he would not play him because he told him he was too old.
Yep.
That's what you get a 12-game losing streak for. But
this is a guy that at his disposal has two of the most talented human beings on the planet in any sport, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Every person that the Angels have brought in has wasted them. More so Mike Trout than Ohtani the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I heard Albert Pujols talk on the Chatters Box, which is the Cardinals podcast with former pitcher Kyle McClellan, who they were teammates on the 2011 World Series team. Albert said to Kyle McClellan in 2012, because the two still talked after being on that 2011 team, saw Mike Trout in spring training before he was called up, and called Kyle McClellan and everyone he knew and said, and I quote, "He's going to break all of my records before I've even set them." Albert Pujols is 17 home runs away from 700. He just got to 9th all-time in hits. If Mike Trout was in the postseason, that would mean his career would mean a whole lot more than it does right now than him just being the best player on the planet. Right now, that's all he is.
Yeah.
He's an AL MVP. He's an all-star. He's a multi-time all-star. He's not an NLCS MVP or ALCS MVP. He's not a World Series MVP. He's not a World Series champion. He's won Silver Sluggers. He's won MVPs. He's been an all-star. Shohei Ohtani does what Babe Ruth only dreamed he could do, which was throw 100 miles an hour with a 90-mile-an-hour changeup and then go back up to the plate and hit 450-foot absolute missiles off of people. The only reason that the Angels won last night to end the skid at 14 was because Shohei Ohtani went 7 2/3 innings, struck out 12 batters, gave up 2 hits, and didn't walk anybody. And then hit a tie-breaking home run in the bottom of the 7th inning. Joe Madden simply didn't know how to use all the talent that's at his disposal.
no, I think we saw that in Tampa Bay too, when they were kind of.
Look, he had a ton of talent in Chicago. I don't even think he really had as much of a foot in that as super veteran guys like they had in Dexter Fowler, Jason Hayward, David Ross. I think Joe Madden on that team was very, very hands-off. We're going to continue this after the break.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Welcome to The Pit Stop, the only radio show produced in the Triad dedicated to Bowman Gray coverage every single week. Join host Brett Wiseman for exclusive coverage and interviews with your favorite drivers at the Madhouse, plus recaps of the previous week's races, coverage of all divisions, modified, sportsman, street stock, and stadium stock. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. on WTOV 980 AM and 96.7 FM, or throughout the week during the season on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Hey, are you sitting around wondering how much your house is worth in today's economy? will wonder no more. Just ask your agent. Jenny Fulton with Allen Tate Realtors can help. Contact Jenny today for a free analysis on your home. Call her at 336-978-0041 or email at jenny.fulton@allentate.com and get the easy process started today. Why wait? In the market to buy? Jenny can help you find a perfect home in the Triad also. Jenny Fulton, Allen Tate Realty. Call 336-978-0041. Start the process and ask your agent today.
Beamer Tire and Auto Repair, now with 3 locations across the Triad in High Point, Greensboro, and our new location in Kernersville. Beamer Tire and Auto offers full-service auto repair, all tire brands, free alignment checks, oil changes, and more. In Kernersville, check out the no appointment needed Quick Lube shop. Check out their thousands of 5-star ratings via Google and Yelp. They care because they know that you can go anywhere. So try a shop with a beating heart, not a bottom line. Beamer Tire and Auto Repair. Visit us on Facebook or at beamertire.com.
Kim Source Direct is a single source supplier. In business since 2007, they have over 80,000 products for customers just like you. Located in the heart of North Carolina, they supply cleaning products all throughout the Southeast. Whether you're a commercial business, office, or municipal building, looking for wholesale cleaning products, chemicals, cleaning equipment, or service, they've got you covered. Please reach out and start saving money today. Stop by their store open to the public and save. Kim Source Direct, 1207 South Park Drive in Kernersville. Give them a call at 336-515-9990. Order from the website at kimsourcedirect.com. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza. Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
We're back here on The Score with Brett Wiseman on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Brett Wiseman, our producer Desmond Johnson, and Will Higdon. As we were talking about in that last segment, Joe Madden was fired by the Los Angeles Angels. And since then, they've gotten a little bit better. Granted, they had to change their mojo to some degree. But like we were saying, Joe Madden, I think, was very hands-off-ish with that Cubs team. He tried to be maybe too hands-on with all the talent he had at his disposal in Tampa Bay and here. We talked about the losing streak that led to the decision. It went to 14 before last night when Ohtani did Ohtani things. 2 nights ago when it went to 13. They were shut out by the Red Sox 1-0. But in an effort to change the mojo, the first game under their interim manager. Hold on, I'm going to try not to laugh here. The team. Baseball players love walk-up songs, in case you're not aware. They have to have their jam when they go up to the plate. All 9 guys were given a Nickelback song by the Angels as their walk-up song. Nickelback, the same band that the Canadian government uses as a torture tactic in interrogation. Yes, that's actually happened. I am not kidding. They are Canadian, and Canada is so ashamed that they're from Canada, they use it to interrogate Canadian criminals.
Can you say clown show?
And guess what? They didn't get a single run on the night. They win last night after the Nickelback thing had been tried and failed. Nickelback tweets, "Hey, you're welcome." No, you did nothing. Your entire existence is futile. You suck. You're terrible. The Carolina Disco Turkeys, local team here, summer collegiate wood bat team, play at the Winston-Salem Tourist Stadium. History lesson, kids. Buckle up. Get down your chairs. Listen to Grandpa Brett here. In the 1970s, the Chicago White Sox and their eccentric owner, Bill Veeck, who once batted a 4'4" man named Eddie Goodell in a game and signed him to a one-day contract because, quote, I just wanted to see what a midget would look like in the batter's box as a promotion. Promotion to get fans in the ballpark. Same guy that did that, owner of the White Sox in the mid-'70s, teamed up with a local rock station in the city of Chicago for Disco Demolition Night because the station had a shtick where they hated disco and they said, hey, if you have a disco record, bring it to the station. We'll literally put a sledgehammer to it in front of you for your own, for fun. Just so you can see it get smashed by us or by you. You can do it. We'll put it on air. So, Bill Veeck and this radio station, for a doubleheader against the Detroit Tigers at Comiskey Park in June of 1977, I believe it was 77. I can't remember the exact year. It was the 70s. Late 70s. Disco had had its fad. That was the point. Disco Demolition Night. You brought disco records to the ballpark for $1 admission to both games of the doubleheader. It was supposed to be a split doubleheader. You brought a disco record, you got in for $1 for 2 games. Can't beat it. Bill Veeck thought it was a brilliant idea. In between the doubleheader, 400 sticks of dynamite were placed in center field, and every disco record that was brought to the ballpark was to be blown up. Little did Bill Veeck know this was going to backfire greatly. Every 18 to 24-year-old in the city of Chicago that brought a vinyl record decided to turn that into a riot. Like, we had people climbing on poles and awnings and beer and drugs and things strung all over the field, and it was a full-scale youthful exuberance festival. A riot is what it was. Bill Veeck got on the microphone at one point and said, hey, stop it. He was just upset that his idea backfired greatly. But yes, they blew up all these disco records. So think about the state of the outfield at this point. There's who knows how many substances in the grass right now. Beer, other forms of alcohol, multiple drugs, pieces of dynamite, pieces of vinyl packaging. You literally blew something up in the outfield, so you're going to have to resod that part of it. The White Sox didn't have another home game for 2 weeks and had to make up the second game of that doubleheader as part of another doubleheader in Detroit the next month. They had to cancel the second game of the doubleheader and strip the Comiskey Park outfield, which had not been redone in 35 years, and resod it and basically replant it because it had been utterly destroyed by that. Anyways, the Carolina Disco Turkeys had non-disco demolition night. Would you like to know, Will, what the most brought CD to the ballpark that night was? A couple weekends ago? Nickelback. The team had a Twitter poll. Who are the 4 musical artists you hate the most? Nickelback, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga. Nickelback was number 1. The Angels thought that the worst rock band in the history of America, the world, would be a good idea to break them off their schneid. They were wrong. I can guarantee you Mike Trout was internally screaming.
I have a question.
Desmond?
What is why do white people hate and love Nickelback? No, it's a serious question. I really want to know because it feels like no one likes them, but they've sold like 30 million albums or something.
I'm going to use my metal head elitism for a moment. Bands like Nickelback are what we elitists like to call dad rock or cringecore, in that all their songs are pretty much about the same thing: drinking, drugs, sex, old style rock and roll, hair metal kind of stuff. How many girls can you sleep with on one tour? How much cocaine can you snort in one $1 bill?
Keep going.
That's all Nickelback songs are about.
What's the problem here? Like, isn't that what they kind of signed up for when they bought the album? Like, they're expecting that kind of party when they show up?
They are. So, but that's why people like me hate it, because it lacks substance. Well, I mean, there is substance. It's just not.
Have you ever bought a Nickelback album before?
No.
Have you ever,
Nope.
like, hummed a Nickelback song? Or
No, see, to hum a Nickelback song, I'd have to sing like this. And then I'd have no vocal cords
Look
left.
at this photograph.
Look at this graph.
Nickelback has sold more than 50 million albums worldwide.
Five Finger Death Punch has also sold very many albums. You know what? They also suck.
I don't know if
Because all their songs are about the same thing.
That's a lot. I don't know, I was just curious. I heard
I think people just like to use them as a.
People like to use them as a whipping boy, but they legitimately suck. I'm sorry.
A lot of people just like hate listen to them. Like they listen to them just to hate on them. Probably that type of stuff too.
I mean,
there are those kind of people, and then there's people like me that like can't stand them because they suck. Like I can't. I would rather remove my ears.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. That's
and
old. Nickelback has sold 178 million albums.
I'm telling you, people buy it just as a joke. Yeah, they're making bank off of it, but we destroyed half of those the other night at the ballpark. So
they're the 11th best-selling band in history. Like that's what I'm just kind of like. Who is it? The same people? Or are they like going in and buying Nickelback and then cursing about it as they're driving home listening to
pretty
it?
much, yeah.
Why? I don't understand the love-hate with Nickelback. It feels like it's followed me everywhere I've gone in the past 5 years. Where I just thought I would ask because you guys were talking about Nickelback, and
again. The Canadian government is so ashamed that they're from Canada, they use their music as an interrogation tactic, and they put it at full blast.
Sorry, I just had to know because I heard it come across.
And they're so bad that the Angels thought, hey, maybe they suck so bad, we'll suck less by default.
I think what it is, same thing like the ones you just named, like Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, the same kind of thing where it's like everyone said, oh, I hate Justin Bieber, I hate Taylor Swift, but they've sold 1 billion albums between the two of them. And those people that said that hate them probably have it in their car or in their house or wherever. And
see, I'm not one of those people. Like,
yeah, I'm not either.
you Des, you know my music taste is as eccentric as it gets.
You are one of those.
Yeah.
People. I'm saying those people exist. They're out there. And
the CDs that I buy, and yes, I still buy CDs because my car is almost as old as me.
There you go.
Because the bands I listen to don't sell 175 million albums. August Burns Red has sold maybe 30 million total.
I mean, we said it like it's a small number or something. That's still a big deal.
It's still a big number, but it's
still a
not
big number.
100 to 200 million.
It's not Taylor Swift numbers.
The bands that I listen to don't play arenas. They play festivals and clubs.
Although the music sounds like they could play in a arena. Like a Thunderdome style type thing with the
See, that'd be cool if, arena promoters saw as much in it as people like me do. But that's the thing. I'm not one of those people that just actively hates on Nickelback or Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber or insert top 40 cringe artist. BB Rexa, I don't know, Florida Georgia Line, some hick hop country artist.
Some pop country artists.
Yeah.
This is what it is. It's hick hop.
Hick hop. I've never even.
You want to hear a country song backwards? You get your dog, your girlfriend, and your truck back. And people hit me with the, how do you understand what your music is saying? All it is screaming. Well, A, I've listened to it long enough, I can decipher it. B, read the lyrics, because all of it's about different subject matter. It's not just all about drugs and then, or
not
stabbing
every band
people.
sounds like that, too.
No.
I caught myself in an old dad moment not too long ago, talking to some younger friends in a music group on Facebook.
To the youth?
About
the youth of America, Des?
Yeah, like I'm on my porch, shaking my cane at the clouds.
Get off my lawn!
How hip-hop has been destroyed by mumble rap and all this other stuff. And
you're not wrong.
But then I remembered back in '96 when I was a senior in high school, the main thing we were playing was Bone Thugs, where they were worshiping the devil and you couldn't understand a single word they were saying. So it's kind of it's almost the same thing. Like it's almost unfair to be like, hey, the music of your day sucks, but the music back of my day was awesome. When
I love Def Leppard. I love hair metal.
The classics are the best.
Yeah, I love those kind of every song's about a girl hair metal songs. The music videos are terrible, and my dad has shown them to me before, and I've vomited. But there's a few. Go watch a Def Leppard music video and try not to get queasy.
Oh, I lived through it. Like that was heyday MTV. I mean, that was when music videos were actually on music television. You know?
We went from that to the music videos we have now, where a band like Ice Nine Kills creates a short film from 6 different music videos.
Like I didn't even know they made music videos.
They're basically mini documentaries at this point for a lot of people, but
that's perfect segue over into NASCAR. I was trying to help you segue over into NASCAR because we're not going to take a final break. I'm just going to run right through. And, So
yeah, let's. Will, there's a lot of drivers behind you. Is that the cast of the 1988 Winston back there?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
1987. Okay, I thought I saw that in a Cracker Barrel at one point in my life.
I have 2 of these posters actually.
They're fantastic. I've seen them lots of places. So, but anyways, NASCAR. We're not going to talk about Bowman Gray on here because I kind of have a whole nother show for that. It's on Monday nights.
I still
here
need to see a race at Bowman Gray.
And on WTOB. Well, come tomorrow night, my man. Come on down. Come down to the Madhouse. Get you some hot dogs. Meet Randy Pettit and see what kind of suit he's in this time. Hopefully it's not too eccentric and sparkly and gives me a seizure. I don't know. I'm telling you, the man can pull out the world's most extravagant suit for a dirt track race and get dirt all over it and not care. Anyways, he's like the Craig Sager of local stock car racing. Let's put it that way. He's my co-host on the Pit Stop as well, by the way. Anyways, let's talk about what we've seen the past,
I believe 2 weeks.
2 weeks, or even since we've talked about it on the show, like the last month and a half, really. I mean, it's been wild. We've got 4 guys that have won at least 2 races. That's it. I still hate Joey Logano for what he did at Darlington to my man William Byron.
Yep.
And look, I said this to a lot of people that saw that or didn't see it. The thing I'm most mad about with that is Joey Logano didn't even try to pass him clean. He didn't even try to pass him on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah.
He just booted him out of the way and went on with his day.
Yeah, and
Like, I wouldn't have been mad if he'd have passed him clean because he had him beat.
Yeah, he did. He didn't have to do that, but he did.
No, he could have made the pass cleanly and gone on about his day, and William Byron would have had a second or third place finish.
Yep.
No, instead he had to knock him into the wall, and Byron finished outside the top 10 and lost top 10 points. So,
Driver once said there's a reason he doesn't have friends out there.
I believe he said about Kevin Harvick that, did he say something about Harvick's wife being the one that wears the fire suit in the family?
Oh, that was
those were Joey Logano's words. Again, the kid that was once known as the greatest thing since sliced bread. So much so that the name above the door of his car, when he still drove the number 20 for Joe Gibbs Racing, was sliced bread. Anyways, he's won twice now. Shout out to the city of St. Louis. Yes, I'm biased.
You guys put on a great show with that race.
Worldwide Technology Raceway, everybody that put on that race, I mean, they had a Michael Bay film on the backstretch before the race started. And here, speaking of what we were talking about earlier with ESPN and TNT, Fox is dropping the ball big time on NASCAR coverage this year. Every time they go to commercial, there's a caution. And it's not one of those commercials where they put the race down in the corner. It's not one of those side-by-sides. They decide to take full commercial breaks at the absolute worst times. Period.
Yeah. And then
they also, but their camera work's also terrible. Yeah. They close up to the pace car as there were giant pyrotechnics happening on the backstretch. You heard them. Clint Boyer said, "Oh, wow, that was cool." You know what would have been cool, Clint? If we could have seen him too. That would have been fantastic, and I wouldn't have had to wait for Radioactive on Wednesday.
Yep. I think Fox's coverage. The one silver lining is their coverage is coming to an end in a couple weeks. I think. So then we'll be.
Sonoma's the last race coming this week. So yeah.
Sonoma is the last, and then we'll be smooth sailing from then on out. Hopefully.
Not like NBC's that great because Rick Allen's also terrible, but the only saving grace Fox has is Mike Joy still exists.
Yeah.
This whole rotating booth thing they've had this year since Jeff Gordon took the big job at Hendrick, terrible idea. Yeah. They should have just put Jamie McMurray or Larry McReynolds in there and said.
I think Matt Kenseth was pretty good in the booth too. He sounded good.
Matt Kenseth was probably the least boring of any of the guest hosts that were not a Waltrip brother or Jamie McMurray.
Yeah.
Like Daryl and Michael, fantastic. We knew they would be. We knew Daryl would. He was on there forever. Larry Mack's still fantastic. Larry Mack will never be bad at what he does. So, anyways. That race at St. Louis, on that 1.25 miles, basically Bowman Gray on steroids, flat, tight, a lot of angry people. Ross Chastain
broke
specifically
up on the wrong side of the bed, apparently.
Well, he was just angry with himself. Which, that's about the most jarring post-race interview I've heard, which was basically 75 seconds to Fox's Jamie Little of, I suck, here's why I suck. When he's one of the 4 guys that's won 2 races this year. That race turned from the Enjoy Illinois 300 to the soap opera on CBS 300. Like CBS daytime 300.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Because Denny Hamlin, that's the most petty I've ever seen a race car driver in my entire life. Because Denny Hamlin, he could have just wrecked him. No. Yeah. He cut him off here. He cut him off here. Then he cut him off here again. And then Ross Chastain came around to pass him again because Denny Hamlin was 2 laps down. They did the same thing. Then he gets into...
It reminded me of what Chase Elliott did last year to Kevin Harvick.
That's exactly the same thing. That's exactly what I thought of. He just got in the way. Yeah. Except that was at a very crucial point of the race. Denny Hamlin's day was already done. Such as Chase Elliott's was, but Ross Chastain wasn't in contention for the win when this happened to him. Kevin Harvick was going for the lead, and then Chase Elliott found a way to, just slide his way up there. I think if Denny Hamlin would have said what he wanted to, this would be after the race, it would have been an entirely different story. Because if he hadn't heard what Ross Chastain said before he had his post-race interview, the tonality and the wording of that interview would have been entirely different. Instead of, well, I'm glad he owned up to it. He basically just kicked himself in the chest for 2 minutes. I mean, you feel bad for the guy. He legitimately looked sad. He looked depressed. He looked like he hated himself. He looked like he was going to go into his trailer and turn on Blink 182. I mean, he looked like a sad emo boy.
Just cry in the shower all night.
He was going to go cry in the shower alone. He was that disgusted with himself. Denny Hamlin couldn't just stand up there and say, oh, wow, he's terrible. I hate him. He's a hack, to quote his Alex Bowman interview. They actually told Denny Hamlin before he did the second, the tower, race control said, we think you've made your point. To which he responded, yeah, right.
Yeah, I really don't like them getting involved in that. They should have just let them.
Well, here's what, if NASCAR's going to get involved, park both of them.
Yeah. At least be.
And then the Chase Elliott situation doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because Hamlin did that twice. Then Chastain got into Chase Elliott on the restart. They tag team. Now it's gone from soap opera to straight up AEW Dynamite. We're tag team suplexing people into the wall. Yeah. Chastain still finished 6th, by the way. So we got the points, but
Yeah, but still, just another officiating gaffe from NASCAR.
Common. As has been issues with the tire with this next-gen car. It's been incredibly safe despite the flips, which we've never seen at Charlotte until the 600. the flips, the hard hits. Kevin Harvick took a really hard hit last Sunday at St. Louis. But this single lug nut thing, it's not working.
Yeah, it's almost like a twofold problem, where you have the single lug nut being a problem, and then you have the tire itself just not being able to withstand the weight of the car.
The tire itself is too light for the heaviness of this car.
Yeah.
And the way that wheel well is constructed, it's not conducive to the tire that Goodyear brings to the track week after week. And Goodyear's had problems with fit, with the type of compounds they bring. They've had that problem for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And we thought with this next-gen car that was going to be a way to get it rectified because you're basically starting over. No, they brought the same compound. They brought the same tire. That's not like they redeveloped the tire. They did tire tests. They didn't redevelop anything. They didn't bring anything new. All these are problems that already existed that have now just been magnified because they're on an entirely new race car.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's probably just a Goodyear problem at this point. I mean, they've had tire problems even dating back to like 2008 in the Brickyard 400. They still had tire
That's
problems.
an iconic one right there.
Yeah, they had tire problems in that race. Now, thank God we haven't seen any tire problems to that magnitude in this season, which is a very good thing. Knock on
But we
wood.
have seen a lot of loose wheels, which has cost guys races.
A lot of tire failures.
A lot of tire failures, which has cost guys. Chase Briscoe led the first 45 laps Sunday afternoon in St. Louis. Flat right rear tire. Stays effectively done.
Yeah. And then another thing about these tires is that since there's no inner liner, if you're you have nothing there once the tire goes out. It makes it really hard to get back around for a pit stop. You can lose 1 to 2 laps.
Yep. Goodyear did not do their due diligence. I think they got complacent with the fact that they've had this tire deal for 70 years or something I don't know. But yeah, they got complacent, and I don't know. I'm not saying the deal should be changed yet, but anyways, look ahead to Sonoma and then Nashville and where things stand right now, what we've seen so far this season. We just got a couple of minutes left. Like we said, there's only 4 guys that have won at least 2 races this year. William Byron and Joey Logano are 2 of them. Then there's Ross Chastain, the 4th. Kyle Larson, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, it might be. I don't know. I can't remember the 4th. I know there's.
I think it's a Hendrick driver. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's 4. 2 of which are Hendrick guys. By the way, Hendrick just short of 100,000 miles led in NASCAR Cup Series events, so they're about to break yet another record. Whichever one of those 4 is out in front at Sonoma on Sunday. But I was surprised with how poorly the Hendrick cars performed at St. Louis. I thought that was a track that, another one of those intermediate kind of tracks that they would go and dominate like they always do. And no, we saw a resurgence from Fords. It'd been all Chevys and Toyotas really to this point if it wasn't a Penske Ford. RFK Racing's not living up to the expectation. Kurt Busch is, I think, exceeding expectations. Bubba Wallace, he's getting there. He's making progress. Again, like has been the problem his whole career, he's just not having brakes fall his way. And his pit crews let him down multiple times.
Yeah, I think the pit crews, they probably let Kurt Busch down a few times as well this season. But Kurt Busch is doing the best he can with what he's given. I think he's basically kind of carrying that team right now.
He is 100% carrying that team on his back right now. Not just because he drives a Jumpman car, but... Which, by the way, if that's not made into a diecast...
We are getting that. Should be getting that race win diecast, though.
Yeah. Please, God. Woo! I can't wait. I can't wait for just the next-gen diecast period, but it's going to be a fun back half of the regular season here. Remember, we've only got about a month and a half to 2 months left here before end of July, early August at Daytona for the end of the regular season. Like, we're getting down to the point where guys are going to have to start driving desperate and win to get in, especially when there's only 4 multi-race winners so far and only 16 get in the playoffs. And usually we say, if you win, you're in. Because usually it's the same 9 or 10 guys, right? same thing as it was last year. There's a potential still that there could be enough different or first time this year winners that could shake this thing up, and somebody that's won a race could not make it. That potential exists.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what makes this format so fun is we go to a track as unpredictable as Daytona with half the field season on the line. And guys start driving desperate down to that point. So I think once we get to Sonoma, we'll probably lay off a little bit. Once we get to Nashville, once we get later into the summer here, guys are going to start to get desperate. And that's when it gets fun.
To the month of July is when things really start heating up for the playoffs. That run from July to the regular season finale at Daytona is where it all kind of shakes down.
Now that's kind of like September in baseball or December in the NFL or April in the NBA or the NHL. That's crunch time for the NASCAR regular season is the dog days of summer. So we're going to get to a point where it's going to be incredibly fun. All right, we got to get out of here. Thank you, Will Higdon, for coming on. Thank you, Christian Emery. Thank you, Alex Wober. Thank you, as always, to our producer, Desmond Johnson. And thank you, Triad. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
We love sports.
Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived.
Not only do we love sports, but we love to debate